much more. And of course, get your prescriptions filled by a friendly and professional pharmacist. People's Pharmacy. Come in today and let us serve you.
Good evening. How are you? A little late start this evening. This is Your Health Matters. This is Dr. Gerald Thompson, and we're here at WFM Studios at, is it, what do you call it? Old Fort Kittels, is it? But we are usually here on a Wednesday night. I wanted to say always here on a Wednesday night. But like this evening, I just got in from the airport and virtually came straight down to Kitez. I had to stop in a couple of places and so this afternoon. And essentially, I've been out of the country in a wonderful country called Colombia. Colombia. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to talk so much about that particular visit until another program, but it's amazing going into the heart of Colombia, the interior, where there's armed conflict, where there is indigenous tribes who are doing their own thing, have their own ways of culture, minimal interaction with the outside world, but still interacting with the outside world. And to imagine how this is impacting on them and how they are still impacting on the outside world. And in terms of guerrillas and right-wing and left-wing entities, this is all fascinating stuff. To note, boy, the weather condition. The capital of Colombia, Bogota, right now is cold. Let me say it. It's cold like hell. It's cold. And did you know that in the north of Colombia, bordering with the Caribbean Sea, Colombia lies between Venezuela and Panama. Venezuela and Panama. So it is partly a Central American country. It's mainly a South American country, you know. But I want you to understand it has deep, thick jungle, borders with the Amazon, borders with the Caribbean. It borders with the Pacific, doesn't quite reach the Atlantic, but does reach the Caribbean Sea, which is a city there called Santa Marta. Unbelievable how one city, Santa Marta, could be so different from that of Bogota, right in the middle of the country, you know? And I'm kind of describing it to you. And do you know there are towns in Colombia where the majority of people are black? You know? A lot of these countries, Brazil, Venezuela, even Colombia, and Peru, had huge amounts of black people who were brought there as slaves and so forth. And they basically have now gotten into the administration. They run cities, run towns, run municipalities. We didn't really go there. But, you know, it's always fascinating learning a little bit more about these particular cultures. Strangely enough, there's a mountain in Santa Marta. Imagine there's a town bordering the Caribbean Sea, but there's a mountain behind it. At the top of that mountain is so tall, it's covered in snow. The top of the mountain is covered in snow, bordering the Caribbean. Now, this is fascinating stuff. But my experience in Colombia sparked this discussion we're going to have today. And that is, what are people's health issues in general? If you go and you ask the man on the street, that person will talk mainly about the illnesses that affects them or the illnesses that's peculiar to that country. 2-3 years ago, everyone would be talking about COVID. Now, we don't talk about COVID so much. There's some people who are still stuck on COVID, right? And that's all they talk about. But I want to touch that today it isn't about what's walking into a doctor's office. It's what are the searches online. And Kamal, you're an IT person. I want to tell you some strange things. We're going to talk about the top 10 things that people have been searching online on their phones, on their laptops, on their desktop computers, if they still have them. And what are people looking for in their tablets? Now, this is global searches. I'm going to go through the top 10. We can just touch on a few of them, but I want to hear from you. What do you really want to hear about? What's bothering you? And what do you think are the top health topics that are around? Now, I could go down the list and start telling you what are the top causes of death in the world. The top causes of death. I can tell you the top 3. Heart disease is number 3. Is number 1. Then in terms of heart disease again, various forms is number 2. Cancer is number 3. So heart disease in all its forms and cancer are the big 3 causes of death. I'm not going to go any more. Let me tell you flat and straight that diabetes is now number 7 or number 8. High blood pressure is around number 7. Alzheimer's is now in the top 10, number 10. And we could go on and on and on. But I want to talk about what is bothering people today in terms of searches. And here are the top searches, because literally millions, literally billions of people are now going to the internet to ask the question, what about this disease? What about this symptom? What about this illness? And let me make a distinction. I could feel a symptom, but that's not necessarily a disease. That could be part of a disease. So if I feel nauseous, is nausea a disease? Is feeling like throwing up a disease? No, it's a symptom, because many things could cause a feeling, if you want, to vomit. Whereas heart disease is heart disease. You know what I mean? Right? Now, how about high cholesterol? Now, high cholesterol is a disease. Your cholesterol is high. That's an illness. But it's not a symptom. It's not something that you expect. But it may be the only thing that might be really first detected is a blood test. The blood test comes back, you have a high cholesterol, but you don't know that. You didn't know that beforehand, you know, and now you're finding out because you did a blood test. So a symptom in terms of what you're experiencing, like nausea, or a blood test like high cholesterol, or an actual disease like heart disease, you know, being at risk for a heart attack and having heart disease is a true disease. So let me go through now, right? And the top 10 things that people looked for online between January the 1st and December the 31st, 2023. I'm talking about last year. We'll be repeating this again at the end of this year. And we can't do this month by month, but we could be able to do it on an annual basis. So we're doing it for 2023. And the top searches for disease really must look at a lot of things. Kamal, it isn't going to look at just a man and a male like me. You got to understand that almost just over 50% of the world is female. What happens with females? They get pregnant, they have kids. So they're going to ask about, well, my child is sick. What's wrong with my child? Or if they're actually going through pregnancy, they may ask something about the pregnancy. You know, on the other hand, we are a world so full of vanity and because we want to look good. And the most outer part of our being is our skin and our hair and all that sort of stuff. So people ask a lot about their hair, their skin, and those sort of things. You expect that. So I'm going to go through the list, and it may surprise you the things that are on the list and the things that are not on the list. And I want you to give me a call and tell me what you really are worried about. Not what you think should be on the list, but what are you worried about? Number one, right? Number one, because so many members of the global population are little children, babies, young infants. The main illness that affects young infants is something called strep throat, infection of the throat. Kamal, I don't know about your childhood days and so forth, but your mother would have been worried about when you were 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year old, about you coming down with a cough, a cold. Is it a virus or is it a germ called a bacteria? Is it a special germ called strep throat that can sometimes cause a lot of problems? It could be mild, sorry, and it could be severe and cause a lot of other problems. So the number one inquiry people make online is going to be from mothers about, right, about a child having a strep throat and how long is strep throat contagious? How long is it contagious? Why? Because when a child eventually has a strep throat or suspect of a strep throat, what about the other kids? What about them having to go to school? What about you as a parent catching it? But more so, if the child can't go to school because they are crying, they are sore throat, the back of their throat is red, the back of their throat is gunky and horrible, the mother may have to stay home if she's not already a stay-home mother. Take time off work, or the fathers take time work, or the grandmothers take time work. And they inquiring, how long does this strep throat last and stay contagious? Because the school would not want them in the school. Number two is almost the same thing because kids are so important. How contagious is the strep? You know, not just how long is strep, but how contagious is it? How long is it contagious? Okay, they acknowledge it is contagious, but some people want to know how contagious is it? I know it's contagious. How contagious is it? Right? Am I going to get it? Are my other kids going to get it? Are other kids really going to get it? Do I take my kids to that playground? Do I take my kids to church? Do I take my kids out? Or do I just keep them at home? And how contagious is it? That's number two. Strange, you know? Now, number three, the big one. How to lower cholesterol. In other words, there's so many people in the world today who already know that they have high cholesterol levels in their blood, or they have been just told that by their doctor. A blood test was done. An annual check was done. A routine check was done. And some of the simplest tests done today, a blood test, include also having a cholesterol done. Sometimes the doctor ain't even telling you he's doing a cholesterol. But I'm going to take some blood for you to check something else out. But when they send off the blood, one of the things they check it for is cholesterol. It isn't that they already know you have a problem with cholesterol, but they check that out anyway. They check it out anyway. And if you're having a blood test done, right, be sure you make sure very early you know if your cholesterol is normal or if it is low or if it is high. Because a stitch in time saves 9. And you basically, if you find out early that your cholesterol is high, then you could do something about it. Whereas if you knew 15 years ago your cholesterol was high, you did nothing about it, you suck your teeth. I ain't bothering with that. I ain't going back to the doctor, as a matter of fact. Come on, you know what I'm talking about? You know? You look like a man who goes to the doctor every year. I'm joking, man. But to be the people who suck the teeth, I ain't going back to the doctor. Me go and see them people like Thompson and them. You know, I ain't going there at all. You know what I mean? Me don't want to be there wrong here at all. You understand? The people who did that language. And they forget it. So 15 years later, do you think the cholesterol came down on its own? You think the cholesterol just went away? The high cholesterol may have stuck around for a long time. And that's not a good thing. That's a different program to learn about cholesterol. Here they're talking about the big inquiry. People on their own are asking because they found out that their blood cholesterol was high, how to lower your cholesterol. Well, let me just say, we are going to do a program on that. Again, we did it before, but it's so important we have to repeat it again. You should know human body produces its own cholesterol. Did you know that? The human body produces its own cholesterol. Some people, from a genetic point of view, from their family history, produce more cholesterol than they should. It runs in the family. And on top of that, if you eat food that are high in cholesterol, on top of what you're already producing, do you understand that you could now have a cholesterol problem where what is being produced in your body and what you're eating, what you're shoveling down your throat will now cause a problem where you have a high cholesterol in your blood. So that's number 3, how to lower the cholesterol. A lot of people are asking about that. And there's interest in it. Of course, one of the main things is going to be checking your diet and stop shoveling as much cholesterol down your throat. And there are tablets that people have been using. It's maybe one of the most prescribed tablets in the world is cholesterol lowering tablets. Cholesterol lowering tablets. And that's some of the most prescribed tablets in the world today. But there are other ways of lowering your cholesterol besides using cholesterol tablets. And that's a very interesting topic that people have been asking and reading about. Now, number 4, guess what number 4 is? What helps with bloating? Imagine that. The 4th most people Googling, I feel bloated. I feel bloaty. I feel puffy. I feel bloated in my stomach. Now, people don't feel bloated in their head. People don't feel bloated in their chest. People don't feel bloated in their arms. They feel bloated in their belly, in their stomach. And we're talking about either gas or a buildup of stool. People can't move their bowels, so they feel bloated. Or people, guess what? Today, it's a good part of the world where people aren't getting enough food to eat. But you know, it's a good part of the world too where people are eating too much. People are eating far too much and they feel bloated. That's why they're inquiring. What helps with bloating? So we'll talk about that. They say, are you one of those persons who've been inquiring about that or feel like that? Now, number 5, the big one. What causes low blood pressure? Does that surprise you? You thought it was what was going to cause high blood pressure. But it isn't. People be searching what causes low blood pressure. Well, let me tell you this. A lot of people suffer from low blood pressure, far less than people who suffer from high blood pressure. But let me tell you this too. There are a lot of medications that people are taking that lower people's blood pressure. People who have high blood pressure take medication. From time to time, their blood pressure drops down too low. They could feel faint. They could even pass out. They could lose their balance. They could faint and drop down. So because high blood pressure is so high, it isn't that people are inquiring about what causes high blood pressure. They're inquiring what causes low blood pressure. And not mainly how can I reduce my blood pressure, but I've been told my blood pressure came down too low because I must have feel fainted. And usually it's medications. It's the medication that people have been taking. Sometimes a little too much, sometimes a little side effect. But we are going to talk a little bit about that, as we always talk about high blood pressure. And then, strange enough, because of skin, our skin being the most external part of our body, guess what number 6 is? This is part of cosmetics. Hear what it is, folks. What causes warts? What causes warts? Warts on our skin. Now, let me tell you, there are all kinds of different warts. A mole is a wart. There are blemishes on our skin that are not really warts, but people still call them warts. You know? A mole could be a beauty spot. Females love them. A little beauty spot, a mole in the right place. But imagine if you had a wart on the tip of your nose, everybody. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Or if you had a wart on the middle of your forehead. Or if you had 2 warts, one on each side of your forehead. You know? But then there's also warts in strange places. You know? A wart on your breast. A wart on your penis. Now, some of these warts are actually the ones down in your penis and so forth can be an infection, right? It could be unusual. And we want to really examine them. And what else? Warts are usually benign. They have no real consequences. So in the cosmetic industry, if the wart is in the wrong place, like 2 warts in your forehead, people use powder and they powder it over. But if the wart is right in the cheek there, you know, some people, they even take a dark spot and make it bigger. Make it nice and big. To show it's a beauty bag. You know? But guess what? Sometimes some warts start turning into cancer. Call them melanomas, all kind of different diseases. So I'm just telling you, some people will ask what causes warts because they're worried. The doctors tell them that wart looks a little funny. It isn't a beauty wart. It's a funny wart. Let us examine it more. Let's watch it for another 6 months. Or let us do a biopsy now or next week or so. So people are Googling, well, what causes what? And it could be people of light complexion, white, and so. Even people dark complexion, but more so. Melanoma affects people who are light skin, white. The people who are black skin is very interesting. Now, number 7. You heard me. This is not a disease. This is a symptom. Why do I have nausea? Well, I tell you, the biggest cause of nausea is pregnancy. You know, come on. You know, the first 3 months of pregnancy, a lot of women have nausea. Then nausea comes from travel. Amount of people in this world who travel by boat, have to travel by boat from one island to the main island, one place to another place, because it takes too long by road or so. People get nauseous flying. People get nauseous going along winding roads. We went in Colombia through some winding roads and people started feeling nauseous, you know? I'm not talking about winding road like going down Belial and so forth. I'm talking about winding roads for miles, going up a mountain, a snow-covered mountain. These things are because you go in and out and in and out, sharp turns, nausea. People have been asking what causes No, why do I feel nausea? What's the cause of that? Staying still with pregnancy. Number 8. What causes preeclampsia? Have you heard of that? What the hell is preeclampsia? Come on, let me ask you that. You know what preeclampsia is? Yeah? If you come out and say you've heard about it. What do you think it is? What do you think it is? I'm curious. Anyone, do you know what preeclampsia is? Coming up to the last part of the program, I want to open up the lines and so forth. Preeclampsia. Guess what? A lot of women, in terms of when the baby is in the belly, the baby may want to get out, maybe may not like inside there. You know, it's a nice environment for most babies, but boy, sometimes there's some things that happen that causes the mother's blood pressure to start to go up sky high during pregnancy. It is a danger to the baby. It's a danger to the mother. And it starts off with preeclampsia. Well, guess what, folks? Preeclampsia means before eclampsia, pre-eclampsia. If eclampsia was supposed to occur, if it is occurring, you want to catch it in the preeclampsia stage. You don't want eclampsia to take place where the pressure's gone up and the way the baby is attached to the mother, to a placenta, that starts to fail. When it comes to eclampsia, the baby has to come out. They got to take that baby out quick. And it's dangerous to the mother, dangerous to the child. Sometimes one of them doesn't survive. Sometimes both of them don't survive. We say it's a success when both of them survive eclampsia, but we want to catch it in the preeclampsia stage. Number 9, boy, men and women live together, they have to sleep together. You know the biggest issues? You thought the biggest thing would be money, housing, how often people are making love with each other. Guess what the biggest thing is people searching? How to stop snoring? How to stop snoring? Are you snoring? Is your wife snoring? Is your lady snoring? Are both of you snoring? Who snores the loudest? I mean, this is the big thing. This is number 9, right? I mean, it's not number 1, it's number 9, but it's big, And then number 10, I went to Colombia. I had a great time. Basically, the food was wonderful. Food was great. Boy, the enchiladas, the mangoes, the fruits. I've seen so many different fruits. It's unbelievable. You see different type of papaya. Mangoes we haven't seen before. I thought Same was the capital of mangoes. Passion fruit. I'm talking about different kind of plums. Well, guess what? Number 10 is, how long does food poisoning last? In other words, all these things, it isn't how sweet a fruit is, or how lovely a fruit is, or how lovely a food is. Traveling today, or the way food is prepared, or the way food is badly prepared, is causing a lot of food poisoning. That's been around for a long time. Imagine, come on. 200 years ago, they had no refrigerators. How did they keep meat fresh? Fruits, lovely fruits, how long did they last for? How did they ship things from one place to another? How did they keep food from spoiling? Meat used to, in order to eat meat, at first, they should cut off the old meat first, then cook the meat below. You understand? Cut off the rotten meat and hope that the meat below is still fresh. You understand? Let me tell you that. So, how long does food poisoning last? That's number 10. So, that's a big, long list. I may surprise you. These last few minutes, I may put out to you what I'm going to ask Kamal first. Kamal, I'll put you on the spot because the callers may not necessarily call. We started a little late. But I'm putting it out to the callers. You heard those top 10 lists, how long the strep throat it lasts for. Is strep throat contagious? That's for the kids. We're worried about the kids. Then for adults, how to lower cholesterol, how to lower the blood cholesterol. Then more so, number 4 was bloated. I feel bloated, maybe from overeating, constipation, all that kind of thing. I feel bloated, bloated, belching. I am passing gas out the back passage. You know, my stomach feels swollen after things. Bloating is number 4, and I spent a little time on that because that one surprised me. And then number 5, what causes low blood pressure, the high blood pressure, what causes low blood pressure? Of course, the medications, and so that's treating it. And also, I forgot to mention dehydration. We've been going through some hot season these days. Come out, you know, it ain't rain. People ain't drinking enough water. When you ain't drinking enough water, you're still evaporating water from your head and so forth. In places where it is very hot, in Santa Marta, it was hot. If you didn't drink fluids, guess what happens? Your blood pressure goes down. That's what sometimes causes low blood pressure, not drinking enough fluids. Then number 6, it's your skin, warts. What causes warts? Number 7, why do I feel nauseous? Well, we know what the big reasons for that. And then what causes preeclampsia? A term that 90% of people have never heard before. Mothers who are having baby never heard about that before, but they hear about it. You know, I think you have preeclampsia. We got worried about you going into eclampsia. That is what people have been searching and Googling. What the hell is? Let me find out more. The doctor tell me and the nurse tell me preeclampsia. Let me find out about it now today. You know? Then number 9 causes snoring. Snoring of all things. You know, not how can I make love life better. You know, not how I can be more attractive or how I could find a woman or how can I find a man or so forth. That is what causing relation to break up. How can I stop snoring of all things? And then how long does food poisoning last? You know, I could get into some details on that one. But come on, I'm curious. What do you think is missing from this list? You know, what do you think is missing from this? That ton of stuff is missing from the list, of course, right? But what would be number 1 for you in terms of causes and so forth? I'm sorry to pull you. Not to throw you on the spot.
Yeah,
you know,
it's one of those spots that I'm just thinking. I'm thinking, what can be number 1 for me?
Wait, even if it's not number 1, what comes to mind?
Well, I mean, from the list, I mean, you mentioned dehydration. I would search like causes, because you need, especially with regards to your kidney, right? To find out what happened when you're dehydrated and how it affects your kidney.
It's a good question,
because that's pretty essential.
That's a good question. Yes.
Also, you mentioned low blood pressure.
Yes.
You know, I would search both.
Yeah.
I would search both.
You would search high blood pressure,
because I think recently I was searching as regards to the figures. You know, when it is considered too high,
yes,
and when it is considered too low, because you know the top figure and the bottom figure.
Yes.
And sometimes we just don't know. You just get one and you don't know if it's high, you don't know if it's low.
Yes.
But then you got the figure.
Yes.
Well, I haven't done cholesterol. You know, you might experience bloating sometimes, but what you might really search for, why am I passing gas this often?
No. Passing gas, you're talking about from your mouth, or passing gas from your back passage?
From your back passage.
You know, there's a lot of taboo. And maybe I would ask you, being an IT person, long ago, you used to have to, 20, 30 years ago, people didn't have a smartphone. People didn't have a tablet. They didn't have a computer. All they could do is ask their doctor, their nurse, or their best friend, or sometimes their priest, right? And so the access now of having that ability to Google something and get some good information. Could be wrong, but say some good information. How do you think that has changed people's life? Do you think that has become the go-to means of getting information, or do you think people still go to the doctor or should go to the doctor for those type of things? And so,
Well, first, I think you should go to the doctor,
Yeah.
right? Also, I know old school, the old school people who go to the doctor,
yeah,
right? The more older folks. But now what we're seeing is that more people tend to Google stuff. That's a trend now, and avoid going to the doctor and do whatever.
yes,
But funny enough, it's pretty scary. Sometimes I say, boy, don't watch that. Boy, go doctor.
yes. No, I want to say something very strange. Why I brought this up? I think that people should Google the information.
Mhm.
And even though there's a risk of them being scared or getting the wrong information, or when you Google, the search engine pulls up information. First of all, it gives you some stuff on as kind of advertisement, things that people are trying to promote. People paid for those things to come up as number one and number two.
Mhm.
But usually, very quickly, you're able to get some good information on the very simple subject that you have searched. And reading one or two things, don't just stick with one thing, could give you an idea what's going on. Then when you do go to the doctor, what that does, it allows you to ask the questions that the doctor may not expect you to ask, or may be surprised that you're asking, but allows you to have a much better understanding of the illness because you've also researched it before. Now, there is a small danger. You may say, well, I know more than the doctor. You understand? I know more than the doctor now, and I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to take care of myself. Nothing wrong with that. Learn about bloating or looking at a wart or looking about certain things. I think there's more good that comes out of that than bad. But you out there have to be very careful that when you Google, when you go to Dr. Google, right? Dr. Google may give you information to calm you down from a fear, or it may make you fearful. We got a call here. Let me
Go
take
ahead.
this call. Hello, good day, good evening.
Good night, Doc. How are you, sir?
How are you? Was trying to
I'm
open.
trying to stay as focused as the good Lord would allow me.
Do you know a few weeks ago I was in Barbados and I tried giving you a call? Did you know that?
No, I ain't seen that register on my phone.
I know. I just sure
Unless you mistype.
I must have mistyped or so.
Yeah.
But I think I text you and said I'm passing. I was pretty busy. It was just really a courtesy call.
That was you're at Columbia?
No, it was before I went to Colombia. I've been doing a little bit of traveling. We'd gone to Antigua on some special. We came to Barbados. We went to Queen Elizabeth Hospital, met with folks there. We met with some pharmaceutical companies there. We met with the heads of certain departments. I'm not going to mention them in Barbados. And Barbados was looking quite nice. But I passed through, as we often do, as a neighbor, as our most easterly neighbor, in Barbados, we sometimes pass through. We don't pass through as much as we used to, because now boy, the airport here is cooking. It's cooking, Yeah. But
I was looking forward to seeing you so we could drink a nice cold Banks beer.
Well, I tell you something. To be honest to you, I do like Banks beer. And
it's the best beer in the world.
But I tell you something, Banks beer is a damn good beer. But care what? I hear is getting some competition from a particular type of bear named H, called a Hyroon bear. That's
Hyroon.
Hyroon is considered to be the best bear in the world. I could understand you having been exposed a long time to Banks bear. You may not know that, but I want to tell you
Yeah.
that Hyroon bear is damn better. You understand? You know?
Yeah.
And
Doc, I would expect you to say that because after all, Hyroon is Vincentian beer.
no. Let me tell you something. Do you know the Hyroon Brewery makes the beer for Antigua, makes the Wadadley. It makes several other beers and so forth too. You know, as a matter of fact, I am wondering if they have any links with Banks. You know, I know they have links with Presidente and so forth and those kind of beers and so. But don't be surprised, you know, if you may find the brewery there. Yeah.
But Doc, I want to tell you, I don't drink nor don't smoke, but if I feel like drinking something with a little bit of alcohol, it's normally be a Banks beer. And if I drink one, I drink two, that's my quota.
Yeah, well, let me tell you
I ain't want no more.
something. Try a Hyroon, and I think you will be enlightened. You understand? You
Anyway, Doc, my quota ask you though.
Yeah.
What really is beta-caramine?
Yes. Yeah, beta carotene, you thought, right?
Carotene, yeah.
Yes,
What's that?
Well, I'll tell you something. We are right at the end of the program. And you have maybe sparked something that I really do want to talk about. You find beta carotene in things like carrots, believe it or not. It is linked to vitamin A. And it's a precursor of vitamin A, a very important vitamin that now is not just involved in your eyes and so, but involved in a lot of other things. I want to say it's a very important chemical found in certain type of foods and so forth. That's very healthy, very important, and it serves as antioxidant properties. And maybe in another program, I'll talk a little more about it and get into a lot more detail on beta carotene and a number of other products there. But guess what? We at the end of the show, we spoke too much about Hyroon bear. We spoke too much about Hyroon bear. You understand? So another time, okay?
All right, Doc.
All right, all the best.
But you still focused.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Doc.
All right.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, we ended the program. We've slipped into the next program in the slot. Nice being back in St. Vincent. Colombia was great. Santa Marta was wonderful. It's wonderful to be back. See you next Wednesday. See you Monday as we Wednesday. This is Your Health Matters. Stay healthy.
Your Health Matters.
How much do you know about what makes up a healthy lifestyle?
Your Health Matters.
How do you define good nutrition?
Join Dr. Gerald Thompson, physician, specialist, and notable environmental conservationist every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. here on WeFM 99.9. Your Health Matters. Ask Dr. Thompson any burning question you have related to health. Your Health Matters. Dr. Thompson will examine healthcare, highlight important environmental issues, and look at what's hot in science and technology and the next wave of emerging diseases and health trends. So this and every Wednesday, join us 8 to 9 p.m. here on WeFM 99.9 because your health matters.
People's Pharmacy, for all your pharmaceutical, skin and body care needs. Located on Grenville Street in Kingstown. They open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Call them today at 784-456-1170. People's Pharmacy also stock vitamins and supplements, personal care items, toiletries, children and adult pampers, and much, much more. And of course, get your prescriptions filled by a friendly and professional pharmacist. People's Pharmacy. Come in today and let us serve you.
Turn up your radio to the clean first sound of WeFM 99.9.
Life is meant to be an open celebration, not enslavement to addictions, human traditions, or mediocrity. Are you living abundantly?
Health of our society, the future and health of our homes depend largely on how we do what God expects us to do.
Join Dr. Claudius Davis on the Full and Abundant Life program here on WeFM 99.9, Wednesdays 9 to 10 p.m. as he explores the elements that might be robbing you and keeping you from realizing your full potential.
It is time to break those chains of bondage. It is time to shake off what's been holding you back.
The Full and Abundant Life program, 9 to 10 p.m. every Wednesday on WeFM 99.9 with Dr. Claudius Davis.
Lord.